Today I'm going to teach you guys how to not get scammed when it comes to real estate rental deals and when it comes to closing sales. People get scammed in both departments. It's a little bit tougher to get scammed when you're buying a place than it is for rent. So first we'll start with the renters because this is the much more common rental scam out there. And right now, because the market is so hot, guys, the scam rate is through the roof once again as it was back in 2008 when things were crazy, and a lot has changed since then. So I want to go over some of the most common scams that people are falling for right now and how you can avoid being a victim of them. So one of the easiest things you can do to avoid being scammed when it comes to rentals is look on verified sources. And to be quite honest with you, it's getting very difficult to find websites that are a verified source. Even Realtor.com, which I'm going to tell you is probably the best one, even that has its problems, and I'll get to that in just a minute. But you definitely probably want to avoid, almost at all costs, sites like Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace and things like this, because the reality is, guys, anybody can post any type of listing on there however they want. There's no limitations. Anybody can just pull a fake listing up, put them on there, and you can get scammed. So I'm not saying that there aren't any legitimate rental opportunities on those websites. I'm saying that if you use them, you need to be extremely careful, and your chances and probability of getting scammed goes up exponentially. So you can think of these real estate websites like the news. We have fake news nowadays, right? So there's a lot of different news outlets, but a lot of them spew out fake news. And you can think of all these real estate listing websites similarly to fake news, because they all have rental listings and sometimes even for sale listings, but how many of them are legit is a whole nother story. So the reason why I tell you to use Realtor.com is pretty simple, because most of the listings, probably 80 to 90% of the listings on the website are listed by legitimate real estate agents. But unfortunately, Realtor.com has fallen victim to the same problem a lot of other websites have, which is that they accept syndication. And if you don't know what that means, it basically means their website pulls in listings from other sources that are not just the MLS, which is what Realtor.com used to be. It used to have only listings that were listed on the MLS, so you knew it was legit, but probably in order to stay relevant and keep up with its competition like Zillow and Trulia and Redfin and these other websites, they now pull in listings from other sources, and one of them is apartments.com, as you can see in this listing right here. And this would be the caveat and something I would tell you to be looking out for if you're looking for a rental. If you see something like this where it says this one is pulled in from apartments.com and the listing company is like this corporation, you need to be careful and need to be a little more skeptical of those, because the thing is, guys, anybody can go on apartments.com and actually punch in a listing for rent and pose as the landlord for a place. They get fake listings on there all the time, so you need to be very careful. However, if you see a listing like this one where it says, pulled in by the Miami MLS, for example, it's a real rental listing that's listed by a real estate agent. So checking listings on a verified source is one of the first things and the easiest things you can do to prevent getting scammed. Now, the most common type of rental scam that's out there is someone will basically pose as the landlord or a fake real estate agent and post a listing on any of these websites like Zillow or Trulia, Craigslist, wherever you end up finding it. And basically they'll pretend to be somebody representing the unit, and they're going to try to get your deposit from you without actually being someone who can accept that deposit. They're going to try to intercept your deposit, and as soon as they get it, that's when they disappear. That's the most common type of scam, and it's still happening today. This has been happening for many years, guys, and the fact that people still fall for this is a tragedy, and that's part of the reason I'm making this video for you. So one thing you may not know is a lot of these other rental websites like apartments.com, Zillow, Trulia, Hotpads, Zumper, all these websites basically that are out there, pretty much anyone can go on there, make a free account, and put up a listing for rent, even though you're not the actual owner. And this is dangerous, guys. I wish they wouldn't allow this. These websites don't really do much in the way of vetting any type of where the source is coming from. And if you can even find scams on Realtor.com, you bet your ass you can find scams on these websites as well. So that's why I recommend everybody use Realtor.com. However, there are plenty of legitimate listings on sites like Zillow and Trulia and those things, but you just need to be a little more careful. And I would also follow the same advice that I gave you. Look at who is this being listed by. Is it a corporation? Is it a licensed real estate agent? Now, assuming you skipped my first part of the video here and you didn't listen to anything I just said, and you go look at places and the person says they're the realtor or they're the owner of the apartment, there's other things you can do to make sure your deposit doesn't get stolen, and here's what they are. The first thing you need to do, if they're claiming they're a real estate agent and they want you to give them a deposit, there's nothing wrong with that, that's normal, but verify that they are a real estate agent, preferably before you go on the appointment, to make sure you're dealing with somebody trustworthy before you ever even go look at the place. Now, I know this is a little bit extra work, but if you're worried about getting scammed, this is something you should be doing. And the easiest way to do this, in Florida, for example, and I'm sure all the other states have their own version of this, in Florida we have a website called the DBPR. And they're in charge of issuing all of the real estate license in the state of Florida, and every single real estate agent, including myself, can be verified on the DBPR. And you need to verify two things. One, you need to verify that the real estate agent has an active real estate license. It says active right there, like I'm showing you, and that the name of the company that they work for matches the company that they tell you they're working for, because sometimes people might leave an agency and not actually sign up with a new one and still technically have their real estate license and not hanging it with an actual company, and could be a scam artist themselves. So you really just want to make sure that the person has an active license and they are with the company that they say they are with. Now, if you've done what I just said, that should eliminate pretty much all of your issues, but there is a final safeguard you can take when it comes to actually handing over the money with your deposit. If you're planning on handing over the money in person and giving a check or cash or money order for the deposit, do it at the realtor's office. Do it actually at their physical location and hand it over to the person in charge of accepting the escrow deposits, because this will basically guarantee you're not going to get scammed, and you can ask them for an escrow letter right on site, and it's basically a receipt that the company will give you for accepting your deposit, and you won't have to worry about being scammed. However, I will tell you that if at this point in the game you're still skeptical and you're still worried about getting scammed, then you should probably find a new real estate agent, because a big part of doing any type of deal, whether it's a rental or a sale, is trusting the person you're working with. And if you've made it this far and you don't trust them, you need to find yourself a new agent. And for anybody who's curious, I'm over here all the way at the end of North Bay Village, and it's such a gorgeous day out here today. It's hot, it's like 90 degrees in the beginning of March, but it's beautiful. You can see right here by Biscayne Bay, the water. Right over here, they got this brand new walkway that goes all the way around the corner of the island here. It's pretty neat. So now you guys already know that the most rental scams come from someone trying to intercept your deposit, basically, which is usually your first month's rent. But when it comes to sales, they usually try to get you at the end of the transaction, and that's actually very smart on the scammer's behalf, because this is when you're going to wire transfer the bulk of the money that you need in order to close the deal. And people still get scammed by this almost every day, guys, and people lose hundreds of thousands of dollars like this. And once the wire transfer is done, there's almost nothing that can be done to recoup that loss. So you have to be extremely careful when it comes to this. So here's a couple of tips that you need to know and understand when it's closing day and it's time to transfer your money from your bank account to the title company that's going to be doing the disbursement. So how my office handles it is we have a wire transfer form, which I'll put up on the screen so you guys can see. And as you can see, the account number is incomplete. And it's like that on purpose, because the instructions are that you need to call the office and verify the last few digits of the account number with the office directly to make sure that you are sending the money to the correct account. So this is the first thing that you have to make sure, that you're sending the money to the correct account, because how scammers will do it is they will actually send you an email posing as your broker or as the title company doing the transaction. Everything will look legitimate. They'll have the signatures and all kinds of things like that in the email to make it look normal so you don't think anything of it. But the only difference will be it's not from them, and they will have a different account number with different wire instructions telling you where to send the money. And basically this is a pretty sophisticated scam, because this means that this person who's trying to scam you has access to probably your email or the title company's email. They probably hacked into someone's inbox and is able to track things and see what the final closing statement numbers would be. So everything looks legitimate. The amount that you're supposed to wire, everything looks normal, but they scam you because you sent it to the wrong account. So the easiest way that you can do this, in case the title company doesn't give you the sheet like my office, with the instructions to call in, you can still go ahead and do this yourself on the closing day before you make the wire transfer while you're at the bank or on the phone with the bank. Just give them a call at the title company and verify this is all of your information, and just make sure that that's correct before you send the wire, and then you'll be okay. But this is a really important step, and I recommend you do this every single time you buy a property, especially now because these scams are on the rise, guys, so you really need to be careful. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video, then there's a good chance you'll probably enjoy this one over here. It's actually a really old video on my channel, and I'm putting it up so that way you guys can go check it out, because I actually tell a story in that video about a really interesting scam that came up when it came to selling a property, and it's a scam I had never seen up until that point. So if you're interested in these real estate scam type of things, go check that video out, and I'll see you in the next one.